January 8th of 2009, it was snowing, so I went to the school's cancellation and delay page, and I saw a message that schools were operating on a normal schedule, and this was at or about 6:30 in the morning. On this page, I clicked. So here it is, 6:30 in the morning, and I'm looking at the VDOT webcam. We have I-64 at exit 96. That's about 2 miles from the Ladd Elementary School. It's where you start to get in the higher elevations of Augusta County. You can see the hills there. And I like exit 96 to look at because it's got an overpass, and I know the overpass is going to freeze up before the road. And I can see on this overpass that there is ice, and even if you can't see it well, we know that we're down to one passable lane in each direction of a 4-lane highway. So we're 50% of our roads are in use. And you know, I have to stop and ask myself, okay, this is the primary road. You know, the secondary road's going to be a lot worse. Why would we want to put buses and cars on those roads on a school day? And then from here, I go to the Doppler radar, and I see a snow squall moving through. I see, you know, it's a quick-moving storm, but it's got a lot of energy in it. And, you know, the clouds are real colorful on the Doppler radar. That tells me there's a lot of precipitation that's falling out of them. So you have falling precip. As you can see, the roads are not treated, they're not plowed, they're not sanded, there's no chemical on them. Then further up into our higher elevations, we have exit 99 and Interstate 64. Again, we can see untreated roads and 50% of the roads in use. On January 8th at about 7:30 in the morning, this is a photograph of I-64. It is the westbound lane at about mile marker 99. The vehicle on the far right side of the screen, you can see, has just lost control and is spinning out of control and nearly misses the vehicle that is in front of him. And here on Route 610, Howardsville Turnpike, sometime around 8 o'clock in the morning, you have one of my neighbors who's slid off the road and crashed into the guardrail. I went to check to see if she was okay, as her husband was trying to get down the road, and she was fine, just a little fender bender. But you know, without an all-wheel drive vehicle and chains, you know, another neighbor started to come down the same road, and he had a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and he was sliding out of control. So I had to back up my car and let him stay in that ditch and get into the hotel area. And I was talking to him briefly. His wife happens to be a teacher at the Augusta County School System, and he told me that the school was actually delayed. And I said, well, you know, gee, I didn't see that on the website this morning or hear it on the radio or the news. And he says, yeah, neither do we. One of my wife's friends, out of the goodness of heart, called her up and said, hey, school's delayed 2 hours today. Right before the hill on Howardsville Turnpike, I stopped another neighbor who happens to be a teacher for the Augusta County school system as well. She had 2 children in the back seat of her car, and I told her that school was delayed 2 hours, that I had heard about it from one of our other neighbors. I told her she'd really be better off to, you know, turn around, that getting down Howardsville, even in an all-wheel or 4-wheel drive vehicle, was pretty near impossible. When she got to 64, she'd just find out that it was a sheet of ice, and there were a lot of accidents, and it was probably closed down by now, or certainly on its way to closing down. When I got back to the house, as you can see, it was somewhere around 8:30 in the morning, and I went to the website for the Augusta County School System, and it showed that schools are operating on a normal schedule today, Thursday, January 8th. Of course, we know that this wasn't the case. That evening, my wife and I tuned into NBC 29 Local News, and they did a fantastic coverage of this story. And it's linked, the entire clip is linked on this website if you'd like to watch it. But we learned that there were 30 to 40 accidents.
Pre-dawn snow squall made for icy driving on Afton Mountain and in the Shenandoah Valley, for that matter.
And it caused more than 30 accidents in Augusta County, plus several more in Stanton and here in Waynesboro.
The most troublesome part of the news for me was I heard a school official say, "What do you do?" And I have to be very honest and very forthright and open with you. This is really something I never want to hear a school official asking. when it pertains to something that happens every year. I mean, every year, unfortunately, in Virginia, we get bad weather. And it clearly indicates to me that they don't have adequate procedures, checklists, flowcharts, policies in place, because if they did, they would never be on the news asking, what do you do?
What do we do? Do we go ahead and cancel school?
And I had to go back and listen to it 2 or 3 times before I really picked up on it, but I caught him complaining about a narrow window of opportunity, and
there was only this much amount of time to work with.
Only this much time to work with. Is not enough time a good excuse when it comes to the safety of our children and everybody involved in the school system? I understand there are no crystal balls, but would posting a 30 or 60-minute delay give you more time to make a really good, safe decision? Is it really a time factor, or are there not adequate written procedures and policies that are there for everybody to use as a guide in the morning? There was an incident on the 6th and an incident on the 7th, and then when I saw this on the 8th, shortly thereafter, I called the superintendent of schools. And I have to be very honest with you here. I feel that the decision to run school was based more on how the roads were at the time they were making the decision than on how the roads were going to be later on. One of these guys had a son who was heading to Richmond, and when it was snowing, they called him up and said, "Hey, how are the roads?" "Oh yeah, the roads are fine, Dad." But what consideration was given to how are the roads going to be in 30, 60, or 90 minutes from now? And I think if we had good written policies and procedures, that question would have been addressed. And I think that the decision to cancel or delay school would have been quite different. Let's recall here, VDOT was not out treating the roads, so that's not going to help the roads. Let's also think back. A lot of us looked at Doppler radar. It showed a considerable amount of precipitation in those clouds. If that comes out, which it was, and it goes on to the roads that aren't being treated, I mean, there's more than a 50% chance here that the roads could get worse, and there's also a 50% chance that the roads could, continue to stay clear. But do we really want to put the kids, the buses, and the teachers and the staff out there if it could go either way? I don't think that any of these officials would say yes to that, and that makes me question that maybe we need some good written procedures and policies for them to look at as a guide in the morning. When I saw the Doppler radar, it was evident to me that there was a lot of precip in it, and that made me ask the superintendent, what meteorological training do you guys have? I mean, you're making weather, there are 3 of you, you're making delays and cancellations based on bad weather. And I was really surprised. These guys get no meteorological training to help them do their job. There'll be a couple more videos up. I encourage you to watch them and take action as you see fit. Thanks so much.